Okay, that was Ron White. The special is called A Little Unprofessional. It is available now at ronwhitespecial.com for $5. Okay, Dean, you actually wanted to bring up a topic.
I just recently on Filmicability, I did a list of the 100 greatest features, or the 101 greatest features in 10 shorts, the 10 greatest shorts that are directed by women. And it's so funny because when I look over the list of all these movies, the one thing that I find that links them all together is that there are very few big, huge, bloated epics or anything like that, with the exception of maybe Catherine Bigelow or Julie Taymor and Leni Riefenstahl. There are not too many huge stories being told. They're more intimate stories, and I think that's possibly because as I say in the article, I think that's possibly because there's a sense that female directors can't handle stories that are really big because they have to control huge union crews that are mostly men, and I think that there's a sense that they can't really control crews, as well as men can.
So is that an unfair assessment, you would say?
I would say so, but I mean it's been largely untested, really. I mean it's really something that's that has only been tested, like I said, through really Taymor and Bigelow, really.
Do you think that women typically are even interested in telling those kinds of stories?
I don't know. I just they haven't gotten a chance. I mean, there's never. How come Catherine Bigelow wasn't, thought of to direct any kind of, superhero movies or anything like that? I mean, how come somebody like, I don't know. I mean, Jane Campion. Why can't she direct something like Atonement or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't know. It's interesting. I'd like to see what happens with Kelly Reichardt in the future. With something like Meek's Cutoff. I think that she could do something that was it wasn't a huge cast, but it was a difficult movie. They had to go out in the middle of nowhere, and they were on a extremely low budget, and I think that it showed that she could do something. She could do something that was possibly that seems a little bit bigger than just. And I like those little small movies that a lot of women do. I like those tiny movies that are just about people and that's it. Or great documentaries like Barbara Koppel's Harlan County, USA, or American Dream, or Lynn Ramsey's movies. And Lynn Ramsey could easily be somebody that could do something big, I think.
Yeah, Lynn Ramsey
or Lynn Shelton or Nicole Holtzcenter or.
Yeah, I mean, I see Nicole Holtzcenter as being somebody who's just going to stay in that wheelhouse, like for her entire career. She just seems like she's that sort of Woody Allen-esque director.
Right.
I mean, you look at sort of Walking and Talking and Please Give and Friends with Money and Lovely and Amazing, all of which made my list, but they have such a specific voice that I don't think that she would be somebody that. But I would like. I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting. Sofia Coppola could be somebody that could possibly do something. Do something big if she's given the chance. I mean,
well, I have no doubt that I have no doubt that any of these women can do bigger films. I mean, especially someone like Sofia Coppola that seems to thrive on exploring kind of different things.
Yeah.
Even though tonally many of her movies feel the same. But I don't know that they necessarily want to. I mean, I wouldn't see it necessarily as a failure or a reflection on women that they aren't given the typically swinging dick movies.
Right.
Which a lot of the action movies are just that.
Exactly.
I mean, I really don't think most of them would have any interest whatsoever in that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, wouldn't it be interesting to see a movie or just just see? I mean, like for instance, let's take Point Break for example. I mean, who would have ever thought that Catherine Bigelow could do something like Point Break? I mean, that's not one of my favorite movies, but that movie has a huge cult following.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
I mean, she's a special case. I mean, because she came out of the gate with Near Dark, didn't she?
Yeah.
Or The Loveless, which was with Willem Dafoe, and it was a motorcycle movie.
I mean, she really thrives on the muscular movies,
mm-hmm.
but she's taken that in a direction that, almost making docu-thrillers in a way is what she's doing
mm-hmm.
lately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting, but one of the it's an interesting subject to bring up, and it would be, I think, you might be right in saying, I even mentioned it in the article too, that this just may be the kinds of movies that women want to make. And then conversely, there's another effect, which is that these aren't necessarily the movies that are burning up the box office. Mm-hmm. So these kinds of films. So therefore, there's that 1-2 punch of like, well, we want to make these movies, but they don't make a whole lot of money. So therefore, female directors really don't get anywhere. So it's like. Yeah. I mean, so something's got to change. There's got to be some sort of sense of change, or there's either got to be a sense of change in the female artists that we're talking about, and them wanting to reach out and do different kinds of movies, maybe something that's completely out of their wheelhouse, or there has to be a certain sense of change up in the front office, saying maybe we'll offer this to somebody who's completely unexpected here. Maybe we'll offer this new action movie to somebody like Sofia Coppola instead of some B-rate, like the guy who did Taken 2 or whatever. I mean,
yeah.
Certainly, any one of these great directors, by the way, on this 101 movies list, could have done a better job with Taken 2 than the guy that they got.
I mean, the 80s were the start of a certain period because you had Penny Marshall coming up, you had Seidelman, and you had Heckerling, right? Or the early
mm-hmm.
90s, around that period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we today? I mean, do you think they opened the chapter for more women to come in?
Well, it certainly got, from the 80s on into the 90s with people like Claire Denis and Lynn Ramsey, Nicole Halstener, whom we've mentioned, and also Lisa Chodolenko, who did
The Kids Are All Right.
Kids Are All Right. And that, so all of that stuff is, and Julie K. Moore, of course.
And there's also the woman who did The Savages in the Slums of Beverly Hills. I don't remember her name.
Tamara Davis.
Tamara
Davis.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, and then,
Tamara Davis, or Tamara Davis is the one who did Bad Girls and Gun Crazy. I think Tamara Jenkins, I want to say, or
mm-hmm.
that sounds right. I don't know. I'll look it up. So,
what movie did you just bring up? Who are we talking about? Tamara Jenkins.
Yeah, I think
did she write Savages?
The Savages
yes.
Tamara Jenkins did The Savages in the Slums of Beverly Hills.
So there's two Tamaras. There's two.
Well, I think that's Tamara Davis is who you're thinking of, who did Bad Girls and Gun Crazy.
Well, look, you have the director of doing Carrie now, the one that did Boys Don't Cry.
Yeah, Kimberly Pierce.
Yeah. She's doing great work herself. I mean, an unexpected genre.
Yeah, I mean, moving closer to today, like I already mentioned Kelly Reichardt. I think that she's like amongst all directors, like a director absolutely to watch, like whether she's female or male, like she's
right.
What about Gillian Armstrong? Is she still making movies?
She's kind of petered out a little bit. I don't see her.
I don't see her at all. But
doing stuff as much. But we also have Miranda July and the British film director Andrea Arnold, who's actually an Oscar winner. She won an Oscar for a short film she'd done in the mid-2000s, and she's since done a film called Fish Tank.
Fish Tank, and she did Red Road or something?
Well, she did Wuthering Heights. She did a new version of Wuthering Heights. So, I mean, and then, you know, Claire Denis is still doing stuff. Jodie Foster is probably the only movie star that's actually made her way into directing as well, or at least female movie star. And then we've got, you know, some documentary filmmakers like Heidi Ewing and Rachel Grady who did Jesus Camp, and we now have a new movie out called Detropia. It's about
they're coming on the show next week.
Yeah,
actually. The Detropia.
Yeah, so you know, but that's about where it stops. You know,
Seidelman's coming on the show next week too, or in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
so we got 2 female directors coming up soon.
And actually, we should also mention Lena Dunham, who
she's an unstoppable. I mean, she's beyond that, though. I mean, she's her. I mean, I actually think that Lena Dunham. With this memoir, the bidding on the memoir alone is something to talk about. But
Mira Nair.
What's going on there? I haven't heard about that.
Oh no! I mean, the bidding started at $1 million. I think it was $3.5 million or something. But on her book, she's written a book. But I mean, you have Girls, which is second season. I'm very curious to see how that turns out. But whatever her follow-up to Tiny Furniture directing-wise, I mean, she's right now for the last year, she's really trying very hard. I'm very curious what she's going to do because she's very young, but it's going to be very curious to see how she can make Girls branch out and last for more than, let's say, like 3 seasons. I'd be very curious to see if she can really pull that off because, it's interesting. I think the reason that show works, not so much because of her, but because of the whole ensemble, because you have a lot of interesting characters. If it was just her, I don't think the show would have lasted more than a season. But I think it was very smart to make it, follow a lot of different characters. I do think that that she is someone to watch, and she's very smart, and she's going to I think she has a couple of films in her.
Well, I mean, and Catherine Hardwicke is another one that's made blockbuster.
That's
movie.
Someone we really can't. She is someone. I mean, she made the first Twilight. She did 13 and the Lords of Dogtown, and she made that one about the Jesus Christ. So she's very popular.
Mira Nair. I mean, she's very.
It's interesting. You bring up, and she's one of these rarities. It's a foreign director who's crossed over into mainstream Hollywood. And made big Hollywood movies. And
Mimi Leder. I mean, she hasn't made a movie in a while, I don't think, but she
not in
has
a little
made.
While.
Yeah, when she made The Peacemaker and Deep Impact.
Yeah,
I mean, she was entrusted to big studio movies that would typically go to male.
Right, and we don't hear her name. People do not mention her. It's very interesting because that's a very important person to bring up in this discussion.
Well, she started off as television. I'm wondering if she's doing television now.
What about Angelisa Holland, who did Europa, and she's another one to bring up.
She's still doing movies. I mean,
she did the one in Darkness, which was superb. So there are a lot out there. It's very interesting, though. I think, let me ask you this, Dean, does the foreign to American outnumber? It's higher.
Yeah. It's much higher.
Just all the names we're bringing up. I mean, yeah, it seems that way.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm, and even somebody like Mia Hansen-Love, who did My First Love last year, and did The Father of My Children. That's
a great movie. Superb movie.
So, I mean, there's a lot of foreign directors out there, but that are female and getting plenty of work.
Right.
Plus, it could be just the nature of the game anyway. I mean, because Alison Anders.
That's the one.
She would be typical of the type of filmmaker that isn't interested in making the big, muscular action movies that are in vogue. And so, just like her male counterparts, I'm sure she goes through hell to try to get funding for her particular type of movie.
Well, I also don't want to just say muscular action movies. I don't want to just lump it into that, but also things like something like, and I'm just bringing this up because it's a big epic, but that involves a lot of people, but something like Lincoln or whatever, or something like Atonement, or big Oscar-y movies. The female directors don't get a chance to do those either. You know
who I really miss actually. Is I really miss Randa Haynes.
She hasn't done anything in a while. Children
of a Lesser God and The Doctor. She's and I reached out to her years ago, and she was in England or something teaching. So she's not really even directing anymore, at least when I talked to her. Sally Potter is another filmmaker.
And another foreign filmmaker, a Canadian filmmaker, Sarah Polley.
Yeah, Sarah Polley is an actress, and
So there's still a lot of. I even at the film festival, going to the film festival just for the week that I went, I saw the Roman Polanski movie by Marina Zenovich, and so she's going to obviously continue in the documentary realm, and then also I saw the new film by Yaseem Ustaglu from Turkey called Araf, and I thought that she's a real voice to watch in the future.
And Nancy Myers and Nora Ephron had great success, and the types of films that they made.
But I think it's like an interesting thing for the industry as a whole to ask themselves, like, why not get a female film director, not just to do something that's actiony, but although I think that would improve a lot of the action.
You're right. The unfortunate thing is that those movies are risky to begin with.
Right.
But you see, if this could happen, if a female director does a Lincoln, and Lincoln flops. Would the perception be, well, that's what we get for bringing on a female director?
I'm afraid that might be. You're right. I'm afraid that would happen.
So, but then if you don't take the chance,
you
never know.
I'm certainly not saying that's right, but I guarantee you that perception might exist, and it's something that would never be thrown out for a man. Well, that's what you get for giving Lincoln to a man. That's what's so kind of risky about this kind of conversation, because you really have to confront sexism. And then on the other hand, a lot of females that are directing, they don't like being the poster people for this argument. They said, "Look, I just want to do my job. I'm not representing a cause here." And I'm frankly getting tired of asking about it. I'm not carrying the torch for all women. I don't feel that burden. No.
Yeah, well, and that's fair enough too. But we wouldn't even be having this conversation if over the entire history of movies, women had been given more of an opportunity in the director's chair. So it's like, there's plenty of, the crazy thing about it is that there's plenty of female, throughout history, there's been plenty of female editors and producers, screenwriters. You would think
especially in editing. They've made a mark in editing, certainly.
Yeah. And you would think at least, but there's been absolutely almost no. In fact, I only know of one female cinematographer, and that's Maurice Alberti, who did.
Yeah, there's Maurice. There's Ellen Kuras, who shot Summer of Sam and a few other movies. There are a couple out there, but because I went through them because we're going to do part 2 of a second part of our Art of Cinematography series, so I started sending out requests, and there are a couple of females that I sent out to. But you're right. definitely dominated
There's
by
never
men.
been one that's been nominated for an Oscar. So, and it's virtually the only category in the Oscars in which there hasn't ever been a female nominee.
Yeah.
Even in special effects and sound, there have been female nominees, but not in cinematography, which I think is a telling detail, because really cinematography and the things, the level of support that's required for the art of cinematography, all the lighting people and the grips and so forth and so on, they really outnumber almost everybody, all of the other, the art directors and all their support system on set. They're really, and so I wonder if there's something there. It's like the cinematographers, which are mostly men. I've read this before, that they generally undermine their female directors, But then I've also read that cinematographers just generally undermine directors in general. That they are the director and the cinematographer are the two people who are most likely to clash during the filmmaking process.
Well, so, literally, I mean, they come to a head, I guess, and who literally calls the shots.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. But I think there's something there too, because all of that, all of those lighting crews and so forth, and the people that support the cinematographers, they're all men. So are they going to take orders from a woman, and take them gladly? That's a question.